Last time we learned this whole chain that starts up with Hillel, and then after that, right, Hillel has a son who is called Shimon. And then Shimon has a son which is called Gamliel, the son of Shimon. And he is the first Mishnah over here after Hillel and Shammai. Gamliel, who is the grandson of Shimon. And then Gamliel, he has a son which is called Shimon. And this son, which is called Shimon ben Gamliel, that was the last Mishnah. He was there when he was the ruler of the Sanhedrin in the time when there was the destruction of the Second Temple. And the Sanhedrin continued on after the destruction of the Second Temple. It still wandered around and it was in exile. And that's where we have the Talmud Yerushalmi, you have the Talmud Bavli. In other words, there were still Jews left in Israel. And eventually from this line is going to come Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, he's the one that wrote the Mishnah. He's the last one of the Tanaim. Okay, so now we're coming with Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. And that's not what his name is. Okay, this Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, a Zaken. It's called Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, a Zaken. As he was the one at the time of the destruction of the temple. And he said what we learned yesterday. Yesterday he said, all my life I grew up in the wise men and I never found anything better than quiet. In other words, action. Lo midrash wa ikar ella maisa. Don't talk too much about mundane things. And even in Torah, don't talk more than you do. The main thing is action. In fact, even more, if you say too much, then you bring sin. We talked about that yesterday. Good? And now we are learning the Mishnah from Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Who is this Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel? Not the one at the time of the temple. Let's learn the introduction that he has. Do we have this over here? Let's see. Yes, very good. See, we have very good. If you can make this bigger, that would be very nice. Here. But that's the text, exactly the text that he has colored there.
Yeah, each person can zoom it in, I guess.
You can zoom it and make it bigger. I did not succeed in doing it. 1 second. Okay, could be, but I did not succeed in doing it. Oh. That was me? I did it? Oh, yeah.
No, it was me.
Oh, all right. Okay, let's go. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, Sheba Mishnah Seno of our Mishnah, who Neched, make it a normal size that people can see it, because it's not, that's okay. Oh, that's all you have to play with is just this line in the middle? Okay, good. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel of our Mishnah, this is the Nechdo, he is the grandson of Rabbi Shimon that was mentioned in the previous Mishnah. The Rabbi Shimon that we mentioned in the previous Mishnah, this was the Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel that was the time of the temple. That was in Mishnah Yud Zayin. And now we are mentioning another Rabbi Shimon, and this was the grandson, because how do they do it? The first one would be called Shimon, the next one would be called Gamliel, and then there's Shimon, the son of Gamliel, then Gamliel, the son of Shimon, etc. Until finally it came out that every 2 generations was called Shimon ben Gamliel. So this was the last Shimon ben Gamliel. This was the grandson of the Shimon ben Gamliel that we just talked about that said that it's good to be quiet, don't talk too much. This Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, he was the son of Rabbi Gamliel, the second Rabbi Gamliel from Yavne. Now, I don't know if you know the story, but when the temple was destroyed, so they snuck out Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai from Jerusalem. They snuck him out. There's a whole story. It's written in the Gittin, in the Gemara Gittin. They snuck out Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai in a coffin. And anyway, he got out and he went to the attacking general, and he said, "Give me Yavne v'chachameha." Right? Give me a Yavne. He said, "You are the new Caesar. You're the new king." And the general said, "How do you know I'm the new king?" All of a sudden came a messenger from Rome and said The king is dead. You're the new king. So he said, wow, that's pretty good. Tell me what you want. I'll give you what you want. So he said, what do I want? I want the city of Yavna. So Yavna was a big center of learning of Torah. And the Gemara says, why didn't he ask for more? But okay, this Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, and one of the other things he said, I want that you should leave one of the chain of relatives from Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, because there was Lo Yasur Shevet Mi Yehuda, I'm sorry. There has to always be a representative of Yehuda, of Judah. He's going to be the leader of the Jewish people. The Jewish people, Mashiach, that's why Mashiach has to come from David. David comes from Yehuda. So that's what he asked for. So here we go. This is Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and he was this direct offspring from Yehuda, from David, from King David. Like King David was already, almost 1,000 years before. Ahmed Baruch Sanhedrin, he stood on the top of the Sanhedrin. This Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, he's the grandson of the Shimon ben Gamliel in the previous Mishna. He was at the head of the Sanhedrin. La'achar Mered Bar Kochava. This was after Bar Kochava. Okay, the previous Shimon ben Gamliel, he was when the temple was destroyed. And now we're talking about, this is already, 50 years later, however long later. And this is when Bar Kochava decided he was going to make his revolution against the Romans, and he almost succeeded. That's why Rabbi Akiva, said that Bar Kochava was the Mashiach. He thought he was the Mashiach, and he really would have won if he hadn't done some sort of small mistake. There's different opinions what it was. B'shnot HaMered HaShmad Haya Mistater. In the days when Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, when Bar Kochava, his name was Bar Kaziva, when he made his revolution as Shimon ben Gamliel, he went into hiding. Kanir, it seems that he went into hiding in Bavel. And when things got quiet, as Bitlu Gazerot and the decrees ended, and when the decrees ended, what is this?
What are you reading?
Please show the whole page. Show the whole page. You have to give me we'll bring after this Yerachmiel, so that I'll be able to show the page. Okay, because it's not working out this way.
Have to, in order for us to do that, you have to be able to put up the page yourself.
That's right. And you'll just have to show me how to do it.
You have to search it.
There it is. That's it.
Chaim would be best to teach you how to search.
Who?
Chaim Tesler. He seems to be able to find these things.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, here we are. If it would go according to my pointer, that would be wonderful. But is it according to my pointer? Can you see my pointer? No. Huh? Okay, here we are. We are now on here. Let me just try to read it from here. We are now on the fourth line down.
With the highlighted words?
Just let me talk, please. We're now on the fourth line down, and the first word is line is haruchot. Okay. When Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, this Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, he was a grandson of the Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel of the previous Mishnah that was alive when the temple was destroyed. It's the previous one. And he now is alive, 50 years later, whatever. He's the grandson of the previous Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel that was mentioned previously. This was in the time when Bar Kochava made his rebellion, which was a tremendous failure. And then they started really going against the Jews. And this Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, being that he was the direct relative of King David and all of the hope of the Jewish people depended on him, he went into hiding. But as soon as things died down, Chazila Eretz Israel, he came back to the land of Israel, and he was chosen to fill the place of his forefathers in the leadership of Israel, because he was a direct relative of King David. Vahu kara he kava dirishto, and he set his dwelling. I'll read from here what I have over here. He set his dwelling place in Usha, in a place which is called Usha. Here we go. Yes. But Usha, in a place called Usha in the Galil, in the northern part of Israel, just like Gamliel, his father, did. But he was hikpid afhu. He was also very, very careful about the honor and the glory of the leadership of the Jewish people, the Nesiut. He did with all he could to strengthen the leadership of the Jewish people. The leader was very, very important, and he was the one that stressed it. He came from King David. He was a king. Kadesha Tochla, that he was be able to unite Tachad Ha'anagaso, and under his rulership, the whole entire Jewish nation that was all scattered around. Remember, this is the time of the destruction of the temple. The Jews had already been destroyed. This is just the beginning of the destruction, right? That was 2,000 years ago. And here was, let's say, 1,800, 900 years ago. Head lemooros zmano, the redifos ha'iyumos shel yamei merid. This is the terrible things that happened in his time because of the rebellion of Bar Kochava that didn't succeed. Ano Shomim, we hear, ahead we can hear whatever is an echo. This the saying, what he says over here, this echoes the spirit of the times. And there was a book then which was called Megillat Tainit, the book of fasts, Shenirshemu bo lezikaron yemei atzorot, which were as a remembrance for the days of the terrible tribulations that the Jews went through, our Avosenu, our forefathers went through. So they would make a fast day on all these different days. Even to this day, there's Polish Hasidim, the Polish Hasidim, they fast on what's called on the 20th of Sivan. And we don't say whatever is it, we don't say a couple of prayers on that day, because that was when Chmielnicki made his thing. So at that time, they used to have that tremendous, because we went through the Holocaust, so we've forgotten all the terrible, terrible tortures the Jewish people have been going through for the last at least 2,000 years, since the temple has been destroyed. And here, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, he was the one that tried to bring back a little bit of the pride and unity to the Jewish people. That's basically what the Rebbe did. What our Rebbe did after the Holocaust, Judaism was destroyed. All the Jews were separated, and all the Jews were just hiding in their houses or their enclaves or whatever they were. And the Rebbe brought it out. So that was what Rabbi Shimon Gamliel did in his time. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, like we said, was a direct descendant of King David, and our Rebbe was also a direct descendant of King David, direct descendant. Af anu mechavavim et atzoros. He said, we endear, remembering the difficulties that the Jewish people went through. Why? Mana said, what can we do? She'im banu lichtov ein anu speaking. If we would write all of the difficulties that the Jewish people went through, the book would be a 2 million pages. But Odaya Omer, and he'd also say, this is what Rabbi Shimon Gamliel would say. He would say, Miyom shecharav beit hamikdash, bedin hu shelo nechal. Since the day that the temple was destroyed, it should be that we should never eat meat and we should never drink wine. It should be that we never have any happiness since the temple is destroyed. We should never be happy. Elab, what? Why didn't the rabbis make a law? She'en gozrim al tzibor ela otam adavorim, because you cannot declare on a Jewish people only the things that they are able to withstand. Melamed, this teaches us the vorim amarubim behalacha. This teaches us many things in law. Rabim hein pitkamav. A lot of these laws come from him, from Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Kagon, like for instance, ein osim nafashos latzadikim. You don't make gravestones for the tzadikim. What do you mean you don't make gravestones for the tzaddikim? You don't have to make gravestones for the tzaddikim. So in other words, write on the gravestone everything that they've done, everything that they did, right? That should be there. It says you don't have to do it. Why? Divreim heimim zichronom. The words of the tzaddikim that they left behind, that's good enough to remember. Write a place so you know there's a dead body here, and write his name. That's enough. And also, call mitzvah shemosru Yisrael, nasham ani. Here's another saying by Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. any mitzvah that the Jewish people were self-sacrificing, that they're willing to sacrifice to lose sleep and energy and time and money and their comfort, any mitzvahs the Jewish people were willing to sacrifice for them, b'shas hashmad, when there were the times of, how do you say, when the non-Jews were pursuing us and evicting us and killing us, noagim also b'farhesia, then we now do them publicly. V'kol mitzvah, and any mitzvah, shalom asur nafsham aleim, b'shmad, adayim hu merofet. We're not proud of them. We're not proud of these commandments, whatever they do. What is an example? I don't know. But it says whatever commandments, well, of course, one of the big examples is circumcision. Jewish people always circumcise their children. And generally speaking, not always, generally speaking, that's the last commandment that Jewish people leave. If they're leaving Judaism, you can find Jews that are totally not religious, nothing whatsoever, but they will circumcise their children. Right? Because this is the thing that they were willing to be self-sacrificing for. Now, let's learn a couple of laws from Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel.